occurs on the tibial nerve, and the EMG activity is recorded from the soleus muscle that is located over here. When we increase stimulus intensity, we also activate motor fibers, and this goes in this direction. And muscle contracts, and we see the M wave, M curve starts over here. If we increase the stimulus even more, the activation would go also in this direction, and it's called antidropic activation, and it would collide with the sensory activation, the H reflex, and cancel it out. So as we increase the stimulus intensity, the H curve, H wave disappears and only M wave occurs. So M max would reflect the amount of motor neurons recruited while we are administering this H reflex stimulation. So coming back to our rats, I will tell you about the study that looked at spinal cord injured rats and administered operant conditioning of H reflex to them. The setup was the following. First, rats are trained to walk on the treadmill. Then they are implanted with the electrodes that one stimulating electrode and recording electrodes from the muscles. Then they recover, and then they were.
What's the injury? What do they do?
It's the thoracic.
Thoracic?
Yes.
Is it small parts?
It's a lateral column injury. And so then they're injured, spinal cord is injured, and they have to recover for at least a month, 29 days. And they see when this rat starts gaining weight again, stably. So that's when they start that's when they assess rat's locomotion. And locomotion obviously is impaired in rat. And after they assess locomotion, they start this operant conditioning training. So rat is asked to, in this case, to increase its H reflex in order to get the food. As soon as it meets the right criteria, it gets food. The training was done for 50 days. So, and each day rat gets around 10,000 reflexes. It's a lot. But what we see, the result of this conditioning, is improved locomotor symmetry. And on this picture, we see the EMG from the right and left soleus. And those circles represent the burst onsets of the stance phase of the step cycle. So step cycle consists of two phases, the stance and the swing. And those are the stance phase onset. So the length of one cycle is from one muscle activity onset to the same muscle activity as onset. And those dashed lines represent the midpoint between the two. So that's where the other legs, in this case left leg's onset, is supposed to be. But it's not, and that's because the symmetry is impaired. So basically, I imagine the rat walking fast and then slow and fast and then slow. So it's not even like in normal rat.
What's the blood conditioning conducted in your leg or bio?
In the impaired leg.
Impaired?
Yes.
Okay, is it heavy section?
Yes.
Okay.
So after the...
How does the rat know? I mean, the rat is, I guess,
Yeah.
moving around. How does the rat, do they get any feedback of guess the training is in general, no? They seem to exactly how we can tell a subject, decrease your left leg reflex, but I guess the animal is just moving around. And they record reflexes from the same side that was lesioned, I guess.
But they have to give feedback if it's operant conditioning somehow.
Somehow, yes.
I think
Because how does the animal know?
What behaviour to respond, they're bringing forward.
the food is the feedback. So if the rat is really hungry, and if it doesn't, learning occurs first occasionally, I would say. So the way I understand it, you elicit the H reflex, and then rat realizes that each time the H reflex is elicited and it suppresses it, it gets food, and that's how it learns. The rat learns this way. You know what I'm saying? That first it occurs spontaneously, and then it's reinforced over and over again. Because so many trials, the rat gotta see the coincidence. That's all the operant conditioning protocols. That's the way they occur. Even like in cats' case, the learning is not immediate. It takes time for them to realize that it's not by chance. That there is a.
Except in the case of the cat, it's a sort of voluntary movement that the cat's aware that it's doing. In the case of the H reflex, it's sort of assuming that somehow the rat is aware of the evoked H.
Yeah, I guess the rat must realize at one point
Can
that
feel
the
the
strategy that
stimulus.
he's using,
But
whatever he's doing, is giving her food. Because if whatever strategy she's using, that results in a reward.
But then
I'm not sure how it realizes, but
how can they tell though that it's not that what they're doing is they're coaxing the rat into behaving differently, and then that sort of acts like a sort of rehabilitation behavior, and the H reflex improves as a function of that. See what I mean?
Modification of
Is
the behaviour of the rat.
the H reflex the causal thing, or is it the result
The
of
behaviour onto the H reflex.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't read the paper, so I don't know. I'm just thinking out
I mean, I
loud.
thought it was difficult to understand how the humans did it, let alone the rat.
at least the humans, we know that they direct, they know they receive feedback from the same leg.
Mhm.
And they can see it.
Rats,
Yeah.
they have electrodes, but the rat must
Do they
somehow
give it
learn
any
that
feedback?
the behavior is
They
right.
don't give them any lights or anything like that.
It's
So
just,
I don't see how they're not operantly conditioning a behavior, which then improves function, which then might
oh, you mean
cause.
without the H reflex?
Yeah.
That's just a consequence of
Yes.
that, yeah.
Is it the H reflex follows behavior as opposed to the behavior following the H
Yeah.
reflex?
You mean the rat
Yeah.